Hazard pay is in the third stimulus package and is back on, baby. But how do you apply for hazard pay? How will it be calculated? Who are the essential workers? In the next few days, we're going to find out all the deal provisions of hazard pay. We've been told it's in there. We haven't seen it yet. But in the next few days, the hazard pay provision and the whole bill will be debuted on this channel. Third stimulus package and third stimulus check. How do you calculate it? Is it $10,000? Is it $13 an hour from every hour you worked from the start of the pandemic to 60 days after it ends? Times the number of hours, whether it's full-time, part-time, and overtime? And who are the essential workers and who applies? All those big, exciting details we're going to find out right away. I'm very excited for you. Let's get ready to rock and roll with a throwback video explaining how to get hazard pay in this overnight LA throwback video on the very, very highly anticipated hazard pay. Hazard pay heats up as we get closer to a second stimulus package agreement. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LA Late. Hope you're good and safe. This video is about hazard pay on Afternoons LA Late, our 2-hour programming block. 4 videos, a new video every 30 minutes, starting with the check, then hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent assistance every day at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. Big developments with hazard pay overnight after a lot of senators came out on Friday and slammed both sides about hazard pay and new details about a program which I will explain to you that will give you money for hazard pay on a state level. First, the details. If you didn't watch Mornings with LA Late this morning or in our video last night, new suggestions that a deal on the second stimulus package could be imminent. A new report, actually series of reports, suggests that the president's team is negotiating with Nancy and Chuck to get a second stimulus package approved, and that the president, who did not draft the HEALS Act, Mitch did, and that did not introduce the HEALS Act to Congress, Mitch did, is distancing itself from the bill that apparently no one likes. The Republicans don't support it, the state Republicans don't support it, and constituents in swing states don't support it. So where are we with hazard pay? Is interestingly hazard pay the only part of the second stimulus package that has been detailed on this channel for a few weeks that the president has never spoken about. He has spoken in favor of all other 3 major provisions of the stimulus package. He has said, I'm in favor of stimulus check generous more than $1,200. I'm in favor of FPUC $600 a week. He said that on Friday. I'm in favor of rent eviction moratorium, which he said this week. He said it 2 weeks ago, and he said it 3 weeks ago before that. He has consistently said his support for all those, but hazard pay, he has not. That caused a little bit of realm of confusion last Thursday as people like Bernie Sanders came out and said, the president is talking about supporting and funding and giving support to frontline workers, whether they are the police, whether they are nurses, whether they are people who are coughing on set, anyone that really is the core of the American frontline worker who he actually ran on his prior campaign based upon. He has always said his support is behind them, but he has never mentioned the word hazard pay. So what's going on? New suggestions overnight that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer have gotten offers from the White House via his administration to get this settlement done, to get the agreement done and get it done in the next few days. The agreement allegedly will mirror much of the HEROES Act, which includes hazard pay. As you know, the HEALS Act, which debuted on Monday, did not have hazard pay in it. How does hazard pay work? What is the calculation? And why is there still some confusion about how it's going to be administered? Let me go over that as well. Let me go over the administration of hazard pay, which really I had hoped, we would have had a hazard pay bill from the Republicans, and we would have discussed the administration of hazard pay, which the viewers of this channel have said has been a key issue, and it really is. The administration of hazard pay remains clearly unsettled. The Democratic's proposal for hazard pay is that employers apply for it. They apply to the federal government for this grant money based upon their internal calculations, their bookkeeping calculations, which I'll get to in a second. They get the money and then they give it to you as the employee. But they don't have to. They're not required to do it. And if they don't do it, you have no recourse. It seems deeply problematic. And what I'm going to be getting to shortly is really surprisingly consistent with that. There's a new state program out of Pennsylvania for hazard pay, and they also say in the opening line to it, individuals are not eligible applicants for the hazard pay program. Applicants must be done through the employers. So what's going on here? Mitt Romney saw problems with this, as you did and I did. And Mitt Romney, who's of course a Republican out of Utah, and of course actually on Friday introduced his own stimulus package with Marco Rubio, several weeks ago, earlier, introduced another hazard pay bill that said, no, we're going to require employers to apply for you. That's going to be his mechanism. Employers must apply for you, and employers are compensated for applying for you. It sounds great. It solves the problem. The question is, as I see here on Saturday, I don't know what's going on with Mitt's bill. Is Mitt's bill going to be merged into the Democratic bill? Are the Democrats going to just get their version of hazard pay approved? And ultimately, what do you do if you don't see that money applied for by your employer? What's going to happen? It remains really unclear because it's a lot of money. It's upwards of $10,000. It's owed to you, or, you know, if the individual who was eligible for it has passed, the survivor isn't eligible for the money. It's a lot of money, and if they don't get it, what are you supposed to do about it? I don't know, and I don't know why Democrats wrote the bill as they did. They classified essential workers in the bill, which is a really big issue, and I want to touch on that. It's so important. What's great news about it is that they put it in the bill, and then they also say there's a mindset of this. The mindset is they say they don't want the bill to be restrictive. This is really great news. They want the essential worker classification to be broad, not narrow. They want more people to qualify for the $10,000, not less. So they clearly define certain groups and individual classes of persons working as essential workers. They are shippers, drivers, Uber, Lyft, warehouse, distribution, pharmacists, doctors, grocery stores, everyone in the grocery store, from the clerk to the back door to the shipper, anything from food delivery, anything that involves logistics. And then there's the gray areas, and that's a lot of the viewers of this channel and millions, tens of millions of Americans across the country. Anyone who worked during the pandemic, before the pandemic, or after or working to this day, Walmart, Costco, CVS, Target, Walgreens, Sam's Clubs. Those are the gray area people because they are clearly not grocery store Sam's Clubs. They're big box retailers, and they have pharmacies in them, but they're not pharmacies. So they have things in the business that qualify as essential places of work, but the business is not in the classification. So will the bill intend to comprise those essential workers? They're the gray area, but ultimately the employer doesn't apply for you. What's going to happen? Now, the calculation is relatively simple, and I've told you before, and it's even more important now. I really think, I did this check video earlier today, and I said, hey, start getting your non-filer on file. For hazard pay viewers, I'm telling you right now, start doing the hazard pay calculation. It's going to be relatively soon if this gets passed, so I want you to know how much you're owed. I don't want you to sit around and not know this number. It's based upon the following calculation, so pull out a pen and paper. Here we go. The amount of hours you worked from January, just start from January 1st. I don't remember the exact day in January, but it's about January 1st, all the way up to the present. It includes overtime, part-time, overtime, any hours you worked, any hours at an essential place of business which you think, based upon this video and other videos I've made, qualifies as essential work. Doesn't matter if you've been laid off, doesn't matter if you've been fired, doesn't matter if you have two places of work, but I want you to keep them as separate line entries. So if you have one at one grocery store and one at another grocery store, do the calculation, but keep them separately, because ultimately they'll send you different payments. They're not going to send them together. They're different bosses. They don't know what the other person's doing. So calculate out those number of hours. Next, and boy, I had the very first video of hazard pay, so I'm going to repeat it right now. I have a lot of viewers who are truck drivers. I have a lot of people that work on the hour, on the job. I have a lot of people that work by the project. They don't work by the hour. They're not paid on the hour. They don't bill on the hour. What you need to do is someone who said really well in the comments was, I'm a truck driver, I'm paid by the job, but I know how many hours it took me to drive the truck. You need to get that number out and calculate that, because this is very, very, very important. Ultimately, you may have a lot of different employers in this process. If you're a truck driver and you drove for 20 different employers, but these are hours you have to calculate out. You get all those hours, you put them in front of you, got them on a pen and paper, then the rest is very, very simple. Take that number and times it by $13 an hour. Finally get a number. The way it works is as an individual, not per job, but as an individual, you're eligible up to $10,000 if you made less than $100,000 last year as an essential worker. I have to make that clear, because I don't think I've made this clear before. If you have a lot of jobs you do in your life, and essential worker is one of them, but you do other jobs, it's $100,000 for essential worker work. So let's say, I don't know, you paint on the side, you're a painter, and you make $500,000 a year, but you also work at a grocery store, and you make, whatever. It's the grocery store you use for the calculation. So you get $10,000, up to $10,000 if you made $100,000 or less last year. If you made over $100,000 last year as essential worker, you get $5,000. Now, if you don't meet those thresholds, don't worry. What will happen is that you will get a check, if the employer applies for you, up to that threshold, and then going forward, you're eligible at $13 an hour. Pretty simple. The hardest part about this is getting those number of hours put in there and getting the employer to apply for you. Now, some states continue to roll out hazard pay to its citizens. We've been detailing Louisiana, we've been detailing a lot of states that have this hazard pay payout, and it's not, $10,000. It's not $2,000. But this one's actually one of the richest ones I've seen. I don't know if that's a correct adjective to use for this, but it's not $100, it's $1,200, and it's out of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania at pa.gov launched a hazard pay program very shortly ago. Individuals may not apply, but again, the employers may apply. It's called the COVID-19 PA Hazard Pay Grant Program. It's a grant, it's not a loan, and it was established to help employers provide hazard pay to employees in life-sustaining occupations during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hazard pay is intended to keep frontline employees working in sectors that are vital to every Pennsylvania's existence. Amen. The program will help employers provide hazard pay for their employees to retain current employees. The reimbursement grant is for employers who will be offering hazard pay over the eligible program period. So who's eligible for it? Businesses, healthcare, nonprofits, and public transportation agencies. And certified economic development organizations may apply for funding for employers for any of the following industries. Here are the eligible industries: healthcare and social assistance, food manufacturing, food retail facilities, transit and ground passenger transportation, social services for eligible industries, and janitorial services to buildings and dwellings. What's interesting about this one is they make things clear. So that instead of the federal hazard pay bill, which I was talking about earlier, it talked about maintenance of buildings, which has been a very unclear term. This one actually says janitorial services. So you have to be a janitor. You can't be an electrician. And when we say food retail facilities, it means grocery stores. Additional details about eligible industries and employers can be found on the program. How much money do you get and how do you apply? So here we go. Applicants may apply for up to $1,200 per employee who are full-time. interesting. So this one's not for part-time employees, it's for full-time. The hazard pay must be paid to the eligible employee over the 10-week period of August 16th through October 24th as a $3 an hour hazard pay increase to their regular pay benefits. So again, this is also different. This is not a lump sum. The federal program is a lump sum based upon how many hours you've already worked. This is not a calculation based upon how many hours you have worked in the past. It's based upon how many hours you're working going forward. So ultimately, don't kill the messenger and drop in the comments. How dare them? I already worked in Pennsylvania through January to April. I was just laid off. You mean I'm not going to get a penny? Yeah, I mean, I didn't write the bill. I'm just reporting the news. This is for people who are still working as essential workers in Pennsylvania and full-time. $3 an hour on top of what they're currently getting. And it's for hours you work from August 16th to October 24th. No employer may receive more than $3 million for the program, which, again, is also another limiting factor, basically saying, hey, if you got 20,000 employees that all qualify for hazard pay, we're going to cap how much hazard pay you're going to give to your employees. Really, really exciting news today. And it really, it's just all changing by the minute. Someone asked me overnight, you haven't done any hazard pay videos in a few days. What's going on? The thumbnail has changed. Afternoons with LA8 is the thumbnail for this hazard pay video, which is always our second video of the afternoon, generally at about 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Coming up next is FPUC, then rent assistance, and this evening around 7:30 is Evenings with LA8 covering the check again and EIDL. As always, stay motivated, stay inspired, stay informed. Have a great Saturday, and stay on LA for more.